Through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it aloud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key. Make the big switch. Power to the people. Time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him. He's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules. A new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Crazy Kryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and thank you guys so much for joining me this Monday. I hope everyone is having an excellent start to the week. I know I am. I am finally feeling back to my normal self after recovering from the jet lag and everything last week. And so I am finally feeling like I'm back at it. I'm ready to conquer the world this Monday and this week. I hope everyone else is feeling similar. What is up, Kukla? Good morning there, Mile High Trish. Thank you guys so much for everything you do. Good morning there, Crazy Chester. Crazy Chester, I noticed your question down here as I was getting ready. Crazy Chester says, anyone think that Ruth Chris Steakhouse would still be in business if it weren't for all those financial and insurance seminars? Isn't that also like the number one spot for your timeshares, timeshare type things as well? Yeah, Crazy Chester, I do wonder. I've never actually seen, or very rarely seen, a Ruth Chris parking lot that was full, except for on like prom nights and things like that. Like, you know, if town had a prom, then you would see Ruth Chris parking lot packed. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not quite certain. Besides overcharging, I don't know how they stay in business. We'll have to send that one over to the Y-Files for the conspiracy theory breakdown. Gary7, thank you so much for joining this morning. Gary7 says, I'm number 5, clicking that thumbs up button. How is everyone on this Monday? Well, I am doing awesome, and thank you so much, Gary, for being here and hitting that button. Yeah, Gary7, I'm waiting for more restaurants to go to crypto. Actually, we're gonna be chatting about that one today because XRP got some extremely big news, and this one is very exciting, and it's what we've been seeing. It's becoming easier and easier to be a crypto holder and spend your crypto. And while it seems like these things are huge news right now, I think in the coming years they'll seem like small potatoes in comparison to just how integrated cryptocurrency and blockchain will be into our society. We'll just seamlessly be using it. And well, MasterCard and XRP and some other folks have been putting some effort in on that front. Then also Gary coming in, XRP Burger, crypto food names. Mile High Trish, the Bitcoin Bacon Burger. I tossed in with BitBites as possible restaurant name. Well, we'll have to see. I expect there to be a lot more. It'll be a lot easier to spend your crypto. I don't know how many novelty restaurants will end up out there, but you never know. Deborah Muse Wolf, good morning. Good morning, Deborah. One of the more likely ones with restaurants is I think you'll start to see very soon. You'll see restaurants where the entire supply chain, so where your food is coming from in that restaurant, will actually be entirely public on a blockchain. And so you'll go to a restaurant, you'll sit down, there'll be a QR code next to each menu item, and you will actually see from whence or where your chicken came from, your fish came from. I think that's something that we're going to see very soon. And I can see that being a bit of a fad for a while. And honestly, it might have staying power because we know how focused we are on what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies. I imagine that it's only going to become more and more important over the coming years. And so, yeah, I can see that one very soon. All right, let me get back on track saying hello, guys, and getting into our news. All right. I hope you have some Mile High Trish. I hope you have some videos to release for us. I do. And I have got to ask for forgiveness on that one because I was feeling much worse last week than I thought. And adapting back to the jet lag and such, I am going to be getting a lot out for everybody this week. Zester, you need more light in your studio? I do indeed. Diane and Pete, Grand Rising, and welcome back, Zester. Well, thank you so much for that, and thank you for being here, Diane and Pete. All right, before we jump in to any of the news or answering any of the crypto-related questions, I do have to make certain and get through this obligatory part. Please do remember that the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes and is not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions. Thank you very much, Kukla, for making certain I get that one. All right. Oh, Kukla, how are Tino, and Tommy? They are doing awesome. They are probably all out in a kitty cat pile on the front, in the front room with the sun on them, sitting in the couch. It's my that would be my guess. All right, though, guys, let's jump straight to it. I'm going to get the screen shared over here, and we're going to get in to our first major story, the one I really want to talk about today. But, of course, at first, let's see where the market's at because, well, things went down pretty substantially over the weekend. And so Bitcoin sitting at $112,450. Down 2.8% over 7 days. XRP sitting below $3, $2.97. And a large part of this really came from, we had a massive little spike in regards to positivity around Jerome Powell and interest rate cuts and all of that. And then, well, the market decided it actually wasn't all that happy. And so we pretty precipitously fell back below from that little flash bump we had. We then had a little bit of a flash crash in response. All right, Barbara Martinez. Hi, was looking for your link to Ledger Wallet. Barbara, and so in the description of this video, you'll see a Linktree link. If you click on it, you'll be able to find a link that'll make certain that you buy a Ledger from the right place, which is a very, very important step, guys. Make certain that you are, even if you don't use my link, please make certain that you buy directly from ledger.com and not anywhere else, just because that's just the safest way to ensure that your device hasn't been tampered with. And so regardless of whether you use the link or not, please do make certain that you buy direct from the factory, no matter which hardware device you're using. If it's Ledger, Trezor, whatever it is, make certain you get it from the factory. Just takes away that whole worry of somebody having messed with it. All right, though, our major story and the one that I'm the most excited to talk about and to see what everyone has to say about it. XRP MasterCard is launching on August 25th, aka it's launching today with $75 million in backing from Gemini and Ripple. So what does this mean? What this means is that the XRP MasterCard is not just another card tied to a token. It's a step into the future of payments backed by Gemini, Ripple, and MasterCard. This card aims to make crypto spending in everyday life a reality. There was a very mysterious ad that went up in New York City on 29th and Broadway a few days ago, featuring a sleek black MasterCard from WebBank with a date 8/25/25, aka today. And so what this will mean is that soon XRP holders will be able to tap their cards to pay for everyday items using their tokens. This is a historic moment. And honestly, I'd have to agree. I know this is a bit of a puff piece for XRP and their development, but I would have to agree. It is a historic moment. And so at this point in time, we are now going to be able to start actually just spending your XRP. And credit card fees are coming in at as low as 1%. And so it is cheaper to use your XRP MasterCard than it is to go out and use say, your typical traditional fiat credit card. And this will allow you to spend anywhere that MasterCard is available. And so there are no limitations on this. From what I can see, there are only spending limits that you choose to set. And so you are able to go in and spend at your discretion with your XRP. And here's a really, really cool part of this. And this is something that as I was first reading, I didn't think about. But what this card is international. And so your XRP MasterCard is worldwide. There is no need to exchange funds for a different currency ever. And so if you were to say, go to the UK with your XRP MasterCard, you would go up, you would go to the pub, you buy yourself a warm beer, and you would spend with the exact same XRP MasterCard that you would be able to go in to say a restaurant in the United States and use the exact same card. You can use this card anywhere around the planet. It exchanges from XRP to their local currency and then pays them in their local currency. And so in doing so, you no longer have any impediment to travel. And I think that's something that's going to be very, very cool for this MasterCard, where you're able to go anywhere at any time. There's no calling the bank and saying, hey, I'm going to need to be able to use my debit or credit card in Canada. I need Canadian dollars. No, not an issue. You just get on the plane, fly to Canada, assuming, visa requirements, but I guess it depends on where you're going, land, walk right off the plane, swipe the card, and you are buying in Canadian dollars without any actual steps being taken. That in and of itself is really a huge use case that nobody else can offer outside of the world of cryptocurrency, just because they can't possibly have all of those currencies on hand. Now, actually, that's a great question there, Mile High Trish. Mile High Trish, I'm assuming you'll be able to purchase crypto easier with this card as well. Well, that would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense, Mile High Trish. And I don't think that it really mentions that in this article, but it would make complete sense. It would absolutely make complete sense, because why not? It would almost be in their best interest to offer that ability, because they could probably use the money going back and forth between crypto and fiat to actually help with settling with the merchant accounts. And so I'm guessing that that is going to absolutely be a facet of it. But I guess in that case, you really are kind of spending XRP to buy, say, a different crypto. I don't know. We'll have to see how that one works out. But the article continues on. For travelers, this card is a game changer. Forget about dealing with currency exchange, high ATM withdrawal fees. Just load your XRP in the Gemini app. And so this service is being facilitated by Gemini, the exchange. And so for those that are not aware, don't know the background of Gemini, Gemini is the Winklevoss twins. Those are the two fellas who had Facebook stolen from them by Zuckerberg. They took all of the money that they had made out of those lawsuits against Mark Zuckerberg. I think it was like $100 million, which is a lot of money. But if you think about what Facebook's worth, it's pennies on the dollar for what they were worth. They took that and invested it all into Bitcoin. They then went on to start opening cryptocurrency exchanges. And so they have become self-made billionaires after having won that $100 million, and self-made billionaires many times over. And they opened and started Gemini. And so Gemini Exchange and the Gemini app will be what this is facilitated through. I know that on watching this, I now need to go make certain that my Gemini account is up to snuff, because I'm going to want one of these cards. But it appears as if you will have to have Gemini, or essentially you will use Gemini to interact with your XRP. So you'll be able to very easily buy XRP on Gemini and then load your XRP onto your MasterCard and then go out and spend it, is the way that they are seemingly describing this. But it launched today, and so we should be able to start going in and actually seeing it for ourselves very, very soon. And so, Crystal, that's great news. When does this card become available? According to this article right here, today is the day. The 25th of August, 2025 is the day. This is very much they announced this, or they alluded to this 4 days ago. And so this has been a 4-day turnaround from MasterCard and XRP and Gemini and all of them saying it was going to happen. That was 4 days ago. And now today, the card is becoming available. And so that means you probably have to go on to your Gemini app and request an XRP card. And so you're not going to get it for at least a little bit of time. But yes, it is going to be Gemini, it would appear. Gemini will be where you'll go. You will utilize the Gemini app and use your card anywhere that accepts crypto. Let me get that one. You just load your XRP into your Gemini app and use your card anywhere that accepts MasterCard. The card has already been tested in select markets, showing transaction times under 5 seconds and fees as low as 1%, cheaper than most traditional cards. Yeah, and of course, our article goes on to talk about global remittance market worth over $800 billion. This completely takes over the remittance market, because in and of itself, this would allow for you to immediately have that money become available for, your family member who's living in wherever they're living, and you're trying to send money back to them. There's no longer a need to send money back. You don't send money back. You just literally load that XRP onto the app, and immediately they have access to it no matter where they are on the planet. And you still have access to it also wherever you are on the planet. And so the remittance market this is an absolute game changer. We may finally see the end of those Western unions that you see in every grocery store and gas station and random place all over. You're finally going to see the end of those Western unions, I think, on account of this. All right. I see more questions. And yeah, we're going to be digging in on this one. Mona, any knowledge on how to tokenize a property into XRP? Mona, Alderate, we are currently seeing a bunch of companies and projects that are currently working on tokenizing your property in a very legitimized fashion. Mona, there are already ways to go ahead and essentially tokenize a property on an individual level, but there is not a way to individually tokenize that property on XRP. XRP currently has some companies that are working on this, but to my knowledge, Mona, it is not possible for us as individuals at this time to tokenize our property on the XRP ledger, or the blockchain that operates XRP. But it is coming very soon. And Mona, we already know that there are a variety of companies who have tokenized properties onto the XRP ledger, but they're doing so in a closed ecosystem. It's still in testing. All right. Looking for more questions. So, Deborah Muse Wolf, is there an annual fee for using the card? And so in here, it says, it does not actually mention that. So going to have to do a little bit of a deeper dive on that one myself to see if there are any associated fees that come along with it. I would have to imagine that there will not be, Deborah. I believe this is going to be an absolutely free to use card because it's in Gemini's interest to do that. Essentially, even if there were and MasterCard wanted to charge fees, Gemini is the one actually controlling your interface with this card. And in Gemini's case, it would be bad business for there to be fees associated with using the card because they want you on their platform buying your crypto. That's where they're making their money, is when they're providing that liquidity. Undoubtedly, they're also providing the liquidity for the merchant settling when you use the MasterCard. And so I'm guessing no, but that is currently a yes. Going to have to go in. I'll be applying for one today. And so I plan on going in and applying for one of these cards today on Gemini. I was trying to apply before the stream earlier this morning, but I forgot my password to my Gemini account, I guess. I'm pretty certain I didn't forget it, but Gemini says that I did, and then I had to reset my password. I'm guessing it's just because I haven't used Gemini in a long time. But I will know very soon on that one. I'm going to go ahead and guess absolutely not. But let's see. Maybe XRP. Let's see if we can find that one. Find that one quickly, maybe. Shop and pay. Oh, wow. Carries no annual fee. No foreign transaction. Wow. Okay. And so rewards are paid in XRP. I need to build this one up. I just found a bunch of cool little information very, very quickly. The XRP MasterCard, launched today by Gemini in partnership with Ripple and MasterCard, carries no annual fee. The card has no foreign transaction fees and no exchange charges because your rewards are converted into XRP. And so when you are going out and you're making your everyday purchases, you will then be paid back in the form of XRP. That's a huge one. Huge one. There it is. Yeah, Joe Evans, I'm guessing you were doing that same search. 2% cash back on grocery purchases using Gemini's XRP MasterCard, with those rewards being converted into XRP as payment. That is extremely cool. 4% cash back on gas purchases. That is too awesome. Yeah, no, I'm going to be getting one today. So I am super excited about this one. What kind of wallet, Matthew and Roxanne French, what kind of wallet do you recommend? Now, Matthew and Roxanne, well, welcome to the stream. And now, first things first, if we're talking about a hardware wallet, so the safest type of wallet, a wallet where you are the only custodian and your passcodes and your mnemonic phrase are not connected to the internet, that would be a hardware wallet. I recommend Ledger hardware wallets. That link is in my link tree. They are the biggest company out there. They are the one that companies that have Bitcoin and crypto treasuries, they use multi-signature wallets with Ledger hardware wallets. That is the vast majority of the industry. And they're the longest standing company in the hardware wallet space. So I recommend them. That's what I have. I've got way too many of them. But in all honesty, Matthew and Roxanne, what my number one recommendation is just that you get a hardware wallet. I say Ledger. You can say Trezor. That's perfectly fine. All that matters is that you're storing your crypto on a hardware wallet as soon as you start to take crypto seriously. As you're getting started, Matthew and Roxanne, you only have a little bit. I wouldn't worry about making the purchase for a hardware wallet yet. When you're starting to say, hey, I am planning for the future, this is a part of my financial freedom and my financial future, get a hardware wallet. Get a hardware wallet at that point. And I would definitely say get a Ledger, unless you already have a different one. Yep, Joe Evans, 4% cash back on gas purchases. That's too awesome. No annual fees, 4% back on gas purchases, and you get that, and 2% back on groceries, and it gets paid back to you in the form of XRP as your refund. That is, yeah, that's awesome. That Joe Evans, that makes XRP good as cash. Yeah, it does. It does. Just as easy to use. Coming up for air, Gemini, Ripple, and MasterCard join forces to launch an XRP-linked payment card that converts XRP balances into fiat at the point of sale. Is this a good idea? Well, I'm super excited about it coming up for air because it allows for the usability of XRP. This is them fulfilling that what, in all honesty, was that they put forth over a decade ago, that they were going to provide a seamless means of being able to make purchases with cryptocurrency anywhere on the planet. They just finally made that happen today. This is actually them coming full circle from a dream and an idea to them actually making it reality. And so it is reality now. You can actually, at any place that will accept MasterCard, anywhere on the planet, no less, you will be able to make purchases with your XRP. And so that in and of itself is definitely very exciting. Will I likely be spending my XRP this way? I don't know. I'm going to have to really dig through. I'm going to want one of the cards. I'm going to want the ability in case there is a need for me to, to need to dip in to my XRP holdings. That way I've got it. I can do it. But I don't think you'll see me probably spending my XRP on a regular basis. What I love about this is that it's a huge use case in the form of remittance, travel, cross-border payments, all of that. and it just vastly improves the usability of XRP. Super excited in that way. But yes, coming up for air, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to want to spend all my XRP, but I do want to get refunds and paid back in XRP. So going to have to dig through all of it. All right. Man, yeah, I see everybody is definitely excited. Yeah. See, if one holds XRP, then it makes sense to turn it into fiat currency to spend it. HODL. Well, yeah, no, definitely. What it does, though, coming up for air, is it makes it a lot easier to put more of your funds into XRP, maybe more than you would typically have invested, because you know that you can always pull it back out at a moment's notice if you so chose. Or you could end up seeing funny games come around where, hey, you get, you're getting money back for making the purchases. And so you go in, you use your card, you put the XRP there, you use your card, you get 4% of that back in XRP, and you just immediately replace the XRP. I don't know. I'm certain there will be some games that are played. Rich Roper, listener of your dad for years. After the IRE, what crypto to invest in? Thinking XRP with others. Rich Roper, I have a very, very diversified view and portfolio when it comes to cryptocurrency. I believe that we are not going to see one win. Ultimately, if we lived in a world where one crypto won, XRP is everything, that's not a world I want to live in. That is dystopian. And so I believe that we are going to see a world where Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Stellar, Chainlink, the thousands of cryptos are going to cohabitate together. They're going to work together, and they're all going to do different things. Ultimately, different cryptocurrencies have different use cases. They're not all the same. And some cryptos are honestly nothing more than a tokenized stock already. They're really just a share of that company and its development. And so I think that when it comes down to it, Rich Roper, there's a lot of cryptos that I want to hold, more of. Everything from Bitcoin, Ethereum, more XRP, more XLM, more Chainlink. The list goes on and on. And I think that we're going to see a lot more opportunity to start investing in tokenized precious metals, which I do want to get more into from a personal portfolio level for all of the benefits of having verifiably proven backed currency backed by gold and silver, but also having the usability of the blockchain in terms of being able to liquefy, earn interest, etc. Operations like Pax Gold are an excellent example of a currently existing cryptocurrency, which is just a token that is a one-to-one. There is one gold ounce sitting in a bank vault, and there is one token on the blockchain representing that one gold ounce. That's another thing that I'm very excited in getting into in a much larger way with a whole lot more funds. All right. Joe Evans, will XRP eventually produce interest in the account? I do believe we're going to start seeing far more opportunity. We're going to see exchanges. We're going to see banks that are going to start offering interest on you holding XRP with them. And that is where I see the very, very first iteration through traditional finance in the US. Now, we already know that via Flare, there are ways to go off and earn some interest with your XRP, but there is an inherent risk in doing so. You are loaning it out. There are dangers. I do think we'll start to see, though, very soon, Joe, we'll start to see like Gemini saying, hey, we'll pay you 5% annually if you just keep your XRP here. Because they're going to want to be able to have access to that XRP in order to do things like facilitate these MasterCard transactions. And something like that, you're going to get to earn an interest on, and there is an extremely low risk level. And so things like that, I think, will be the first ones that I'll be participating in with my XRP. They will be the very, very low risk, and I won't be doing it probably with the whole with the whole bag at all. Karma Brewer, where did you say to get it? Now, it says it is being provided through Gemini, but Karma Brewer, I'm going to be going in and applying for one right after the stream today. And so I will know a whole lot more on the Wednesday stream, Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will know a whole lot more about it because, well, I'll have my own XRP card on its way to me. Joe Evans, never give up, never surrender. Absolutely. Mystic Owl, what's your definition of taking things seriously? Yeah, I suppose that there is a lot of wiggle room in the world of cryptocurrency and things of that nature in some of these different companies. All right, coming up for air. Oh, ouch. My old phone was not compatible to open a crypto account. Finally got a new phone, and now XRP is over $3. I think I missed the boat. Coming up for air, crypto is still at the beginning, but there has been a lot. There's been a lot of price movement that has occurred over these years that we may not ever see some of those prices again. Although I would not be surprised if we did not have a pretty major crash sometime soon that could give an excellent opportunity for everyone out there. Wow, hi Trish. The app link on the Play Store now calls the app Gemini Exchange and Credit Card. Do please make certain, guys, as y'all are out there looking around at this one, please make certain to not go getting any unofficial apps downloaded, anything of that nature. I will have far more information come Wednesday. I was far too excited, though, to go waiting, and this is the type of news that you want to share. And so I would say, guys, please do be very, very careful. Make certain that you're going through Gemini. Make certain it's the right app, things of that nature. I know Mile High Trish, though, is very, very, very tech savvy, so I'm not worried at all with that one. But just a heads up, guys, please do be cautious as you go, because I know there are probably going to be some fake emails, some fake text messages, some fake things like that going out over the next couple of days, trying to target XRP holders. So please do be cautious. But I would guess that Trish probably found the right answer. Absolutely. All right. Mystic Owl, what do you think the price of XRP to provide stable liquidity? Mystic Owl, it's always going to be very difficult for XRP to, in and of itself, be a stable form of payment and processing. Just by the nature of the market itself, by the nature of its tokenomics. Tokenomics is very often the word that's used for the rules and regulations of a specific token itself. So what are the economic rules? How many can exist? What's the inflation rate? What's the deflation rate? What's the burn rate? All of those things we have colloquially called tokenomics. The economics of a token or of a cryptocurrency. And so in and of itself, the tokenomics of XRP do not really lend itself towards ever being stable. And I don't see that as being an issue. Mystic Owl, I strongly believe that what we're going to see is RLUSD and tokenized gold, silver, and assets on the XRP ledger being what we most likely see as that liquidity. Those will become the liquidity because they're stable. They're backed by gold. They're backed by silver. They're backed by US dollars, well, maybe stable. They're backed by US treasuries. They're backed by tangible things. And I think that what we're going to see is that you're going to need XRP in order to make payments with all of these other financial vehicles, with your tokenized gold, with your tokenized silver, with your RLUSD, with all of these things, you're going to need XRP in order to do that. So I think that stable liquidity is not actually going to come from XRP. It's going to come from the tokenized assets, the tokenized real world assets on the XRP ledger. They will provide it. All right. All right. Joe Evans, the more XRP prices rise, the more you can buy stuff with it using your XRP MasterCard. Yeah, it will continually go up. That balance should continue to rise in value. Rich Roper, I've bought XRP now a few times. Each time when I hit buy, at price. When it is charged out, it always is 3 cents higher, plus the coinage fee of another 2%. Is that the way Coinbase is, or just me not understanding? Rich Roper, no, that is. That in and of itself would be accurate if you are using a credit or debit card to make the purchase. And so, Rich Roper, are you using a credit or a debit card to make the purchase? Because you would only pay the coinage fee if you were paying from a bank account. But if you're paying from a credit or debit card, you pay the credit card transaction fees and you pay that transaction fee. And so that is where connecting a bank account to a service like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, Uphold, etc., can definitely save you a lot of money on making those purchases. And you need that bank account in order to withdraw money. And so I highly recommend connecting a bank account. I know that it's no fun. One thing that I have seen and that many people do, the same thing I do actually. I have a bank account connected that I do not use. I don't use that bank account. And so in all honesty, if for some reason they got that information, somebody got access to that bank account, congratulations, you can have my 5 pennies. If I ever am transferring, I transfer money from my main bank accounts that I use to that bank account, and then from that bank account to Coinbase. That's how I tend to do it, just because I don't like having my bank account connected to all the services. And so you do have another way around that one. If you are the same as me and you feel a little funny about having your bank account connected to a ton of different services, you could always, minimize that risk by utilizing an account that has very little in it, very little that anyone could ever mess with. All right. Will the government know? Yes, Crystal, the government will know that you are spending. Well, the government won't know you're spending XRP. The government will know that you're buying those things, because ultimately MasterCard is going to report it, and it's still being conducted. Essentially, the merchant is receiving US dollars. And so there will be a payment that goes out in US dollars to whoever that merchant is that you're making the purchase with. Michelle Zester, what impact will this new development have on XRP's value? We should see, with adoption, this should be extremely, extremely good for XRP. And so actually, let's dig into that one. Why? For a second. Why is it so good for XRP? Well, we'll just use global remittance markets as one example. Okay, global remittance markets now worth over $800 billion. Now, with this card, you could, in the United States, you could get your paycheck, you could buy XRP on Gemini, deposit it into your Gemini MasterCard, and that MasterCard, that money would now be usable anywhere on the planet. And so I'm no longer using Western Union. I'm no longer using any of those services. And that means every single week, there are going to be billions of dollars that people are going to use to buy XRP. They're going to buy XRP. They're going to put it into that account, and they have just committed their remittance. That money is now accessible anywhere on the planet. $800 billion flowing yearly into XRP as purchases is going to have a drastic increase on the overall price of XRP. And so that's just one example. Now, there are tons of other use cases, but what people are going to do is they're going to have to buy XRP to fund their MasterCard, which is going to result in upward pressure on the price of XRP itself. There are more people buying more XRP, and they're buying it on a regular basis because of this. That in and of itself is extremely good news, because on a daily basis, let's look at something. On a daily basis, just XRP itself, let me get my screen back up here. All right, just XRP itself on a daily basis has around $7.5 billion of volume. That is just volume being traded back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Now, this is actually a fairly higher volume day than most, but $7.5 billion flowing back and forth in the form of XRP. XRP being traded to stable coins, Bitcoin being traded to fiat dollars, all of those things. Well, if we just took the remittance market, we would be adding $800 billion a year onto this. And so it is a massive, massive increase to overall volume. And the great part about it is that it's primarily upward buying pressure, because it's primarily going to be people buying XRP. There will, of course, be people spending the XRP, but when it comes down to it, the vast majority of the pressure is going to be a consistent upward. This should have a positive price impact from a fundamental standpoint on XRP, not hype or excitement or anything of that nature. Fundamentally, more people are going to be buying XRP and using XRP. That is going to increase the value of it. But we're not going to really see that value increase until we start to see adoption. This is something people need to use. We need people to actually start putting XRP onto their XRP MasterCard. And in and of itself, that is going to be where we start to see our increase in value. But no, Michelle, this is absolutely a great thing all around for all of us on that front. It is a great thing for the overall value. All right. Shannon Martins. Hi, I found out Coinbase card does not work in Turkey to make payment or cash withdrawal. Just your information, people. That's very interesting, Shannon Martin. So Coinbase card does not work in Turkey. I wonder now whether the XRP MasterCard will work in Turkey, because they do say that it will work anywhere on the planet that accepts MasterCard in any country. And so that's very interesting. Sunrise, this is exactly what the CBI is doing with the dinar. Sunrise, I have a feeling you're going to be seeing things like this occurring across the financial world. We're going to see it from all over the place. As our economies become digitized and we start to tokenize absolutely everything, we're going to start seeing structures like this pop up in possibly unexpected places. All right, though, guys, that was my major story of the day that I was super excited about. I am going to go through. I've got a few more articles that I would like to check out with everybody, and then I'm going to go apply for my my XRP MasterCard. And so I'm very, very excited about that. But let's get through our other articles. I've got an interesting one here from Eric Trump about why the Trump family went entirely crypto. And what caused that event. And so Trump family went pro-crypto after Biden weaponized the banks. U.S. President Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump, said his family's conglomerate was debanked after the 2021 Capitol attack incident. Eric Trump, said the family became pro-crypto after they were debanked in the aftermath. At the time, it made him realize how fragile the financial system was and how easily it could be weaponized against you. Oh, the cat's just scared the crap out of me and went ahead and knocked over something very heavy in the house. So I'm certain that'll be fun to go check out. Sorry about that. Don't know if that sound, that crashing sound came through the mic or not, but let me get back to it. All right. Eric Trump said purely political in nature, leading him to become pro-crypto. Notably, Trump Organization sued Capital One in March this year, claiming the bank had closed their accounts for political reasons. And a month later, Trump said banks must adopt crypto or face extinction in 10 years. And so a lot of it coming down to, I always thought this was interesting. It's more than just it being the new technology, the new market. For the Trump family, it very much came down to the fact that it was freedom related. It is a matter of freedom. And so I'm going to share that article. I assume that might be one folks might want to go out there. I know there's probably a lot of other pro-Trump, major Trump fans that were curious. Trump was not crypto friendly. Trump's first administration, in all honesty, was really bad for crypto. His administration was tone deaf. They were horrible for crypto, in all honesty. And so it was very much a giant shift to see from the first term as president, Trump anti-crypto entirely, majorly pro-crypto, running for 2024. And so it did lead to a lot of questions. And so there's a lot of folks out here that I think are going to be curious. I would say this is essentially what we already thought it was. I mean, the most folks in the crypto space said, well, what he finally realized was that it was the ideology. It was that what we're providing is something that nobody can stop. You can't stop us. And so essentially, we're going to keep building no matter what. And it's going to be the financial future. Crypto is going to make it so. And so this one's just an interesting one. And I think that, it doesn't really matter what wakes you up as long as you do wake up. And in this case, for the Trump family, it was very much the fact that they got shut down in every form or fashion. And they saw just how easy it is for the powers that be to take away all of your financial wealth. And for them to be able to take away the financial abilities of multi-billionaires, well, it had to have made it very clear to the Trumps just how easy it would be to take away, say, Zester's financial freedom. It would be like nothing more than pressing a button for them. And that's why crypto is so important. So yes, definitely that one is shared in the chat for anybody who wants to go through, read it themselves. It also, towards the end, goes through, well, just how much money the Trump family has brought in and what they've been buying in terms of crypto services. A nice little summary. All right, here we go, though. U.S. Treasury is trying to mess with decentralized finance. U.S. Treasury's DeFi ID plan is like putting cameras in every living room. Critics warn the U.S. Treasury's push to embed ID checks into DeFi smart contracts could erode privacy and hollow out permissionless finance. And so what they are trying to do is they are trying to get it enforced that any decentralized finance smart contract would have to actually have an ID check. And so ID check of you, ID check of me, whoever's interacting with that smart contract would have to give over their personal information in order to utilize it. This is entirely unacceptable in terms of the idea of what decentralized finance is. This would destroy decentralized finance. And so this is one of those things where, yes, we currently have a pro-crypto U.S. Treasury, but we still have a U.S. Treasury that is looking out for itself above all else. It wants more power, and it's trying to achieve that. This is a great way of achieving more power, and so they're pushing for it. These are the things that are the reason that I think it's so important for more people to wake up to crypto. Not only so they can control their financial future, but because there is no more time. The government is going to push through BS if they are allowed to, because right now, I guarantee if you show this article to 99% of Americans, U.S. Treasury DeFi ID plan is like putting cameras in every living room. People look at that and they say U.S. Treasury DeFi ID, and they say, I have no idea what that is, and so it must not be important. And that's where I think we need to make certain that folks are aware. This is important. These are the things where they can go ahead and they can put into law a bunch of stuff that in a decade or so, people will care a lot about. You'll care about this law 10 years from now when it's directly affecting every part of your life and taking away your freedom. But today in 2025, it doesn't really seem that important. DeFi ID law, what's DeFi? Well, what is it about? Well, I'm never going to use that crap. Well, you are going to use it, and it is going to matter, and it's going to be very important that you don't have BS like having to put an ID into a decentralized contract. It's decentralized on purpose. If you put in KYC and everything else, it's no longer decentralized finance. And so things like this, very important for folks to be aware of, and very important that we hold our politicians accountable, because right now it's a Republican presidency. We should have, in terms of the Treasury, we have got to say that they are pursuing Republican goals. Ultimately, if this is a Republican goal, I am in disagreement. And that means conversations need to be had, and posters have to be drawn up and such, because these are the type of things that are very, very important, but don't seem important. And so another article that I will be sharing, that one is in the chat. Please do If you can, if anything, try to educate one person about why this is important, if you don't mind, or just read it yourself to understand more about what this is and why it's such a big deal. Read about it in more detail in terms of what this really means, because this does genuinely shut down most of decentralized finance. All right. Rising Fed rate chatter, just my last article, and then I'll say the goodbyes and head off to go apply for my XRP MasterCard. But just as a forewarning, with everything going on in the market right now, we are in a particularly precipitous point from a technical analysis standpoint on the cryptocurrency market. And so the Fed interest rates and the rate chatter honestly could have a very, very, very disproportionate effect on the crypto market in the coming months and coming weeks. Because really, it's this impending interest rate announcement that's the most important. So I should say, in the very short term, this could have a massive impact, because we are in such a precipitous point. If we do get bad not news, we could see a very, very, very drastic drop in cryptocurrencies, possibly even something that you would consider to be a bit of a crash, just because we don't really have any solid support levels at the moment. The market is really not certain what the support level is for a lot of these cryptos, Bitcoin in particular. We really don't know where, if it starts to fall, if we get bad news in regards to the interest rates and the price of Bitcoin starts to fall, where is it most likely to stop? Right now, that number is 100K, is where we believe it is most likely to stop. But in all honesty, we don't know. And so we are at a fairly worrying point at the moment from that standpoint. If we get good news, well, hey, we get good news. And so, and in long term, if we do see any major drop in prices on account of this, it is only going to be short term, because we have yet to get any major bad news for crypto, really, besides this treasury deal. And that's not even actually set in stone. That's just an idea that we need to make certain that folks are opposing. But we've gotten so much good news for so long. Every single market factor is pointing towards the positive for crypto. If we do see bad news on interest rates and we do see a crash, I'm going to be viewing it as a, end of summer sale or beginning of fall sale, or I don't know, early Christmas shopping sale, whatever you want to throw at it, is what I'm going to be viewing it as, because I believe it's going to be very, very short-lived. I still think that we have an all-time high in XRP and Bitcoin in another new all-time high for XRP and Bitcoin and Ethereum in the year of 2025. And so I still see us having another all-time high reached, whether it's a few pennies higher than the last one or a lot of pennies. I am not certain, but I do think we will see one. And so just a heads up, a lot of talking heads are very worried right now. And so there's a lot of hesitancy and a lot of fear in the crypto markets at the moment. And whenever you get a lot of fear in any asset market, well, volatility cranks on up, and it becomes very easy to convince people that they need to sell. But all right, with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and start saying goodbyes. If there's any other fast questions at the end, I'll get one. Are you CST zone? Looking forward to Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Karma Brewer, that would be 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Being in Puerto Rico, I'm technically Atlantic Standard Time, AST, but for this part of the year, I am the same time as Eastern Standard. And so I just always maintain everything for work for me is Eastern Standard Time. And so Karma, that would be 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Karma. I'm excited to have you. Rich Roper, where can we trade Dinar Dong for XRP? Right now, Rich Roper, the only place that you're going to be able to do that is going to be, between ourselves. We could do that between ourselves, but otherwise, I don't know of any platform that allows that. Mystic Al, how are XRP gains dealt with in taxes, capital gains? They would be capital gains, Mystic Al, capital gains. And of course, that's also Mystic Owl. Keep in mind, you've got short-term and long-term capital gains. Those are both going to come into effect depending. But right now, Mystic Owl, crypto sits solidly in the capital gains category. I think in the long run, we might see that change. But for right now, so saith the IRS. Joe Evans, I just applied for the XRP MasterCard for my Gemini account app. Took about 10 minutes to apply and approve. It now appears on my Google Wallet and is ready to go. Thanks, Zester. Hey, that is awesome. So you get the digital version immediately. That is badass, actually. That is badass. Yeah, as long as you have XRP in the account. That is too awesome. I'm going to go get my own, Joe, and I am going to go get my own right now. And so, with all of that, guys, thank you guys so much for joining. We'll be back Wednesday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do look for some videos on Midnight Token Airdrop releasing. Now that I'm back to feeling 100% and back at it, I am ready to get a bunch of work knocked off of the list. So with that, I'm going to get off and get started on it. Love you guys. See you soon.